Awesome.
Perfect.
Yo, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to the DWIB Science Podcast. I've been on the go lately, but we're here with Stardom Space. He has a really cool, awesome interview show also that you guys really need to check out. And yeah, how's it going, Stardom Space?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, buddy?
Good. I have Anakin right here. I have the $8 microphone I got from eBay.com.
Nice.
I have my questions here for you. Awesome. So, what made you start your awesome interview show?
Okay. So I have a really cool friend of mine named Bill Hargerator, and he started I Love Mars, and then he brought me on to that platform. And he was doing interviews, and I was really kind of scared to do them. It's funny because I've been a DJ for almost 20 years now, and but I was still kind of nervous of doing that because I didn't know, I'm just this goofball. I love science, but I don't know if I can really, if I can talk to these people.
Yeah.
And so eventually, I started reaching out to some people. And one of the first, actually, the very first video interview I got was Paul Hertz, who was I think he might actually still be the NASA director of astrophysics.
Ooh.
And that was just so cool that he was just so willing to come on, and he's just so excited about it. I think that's what I love so much about people in space is that we have so many people that are so engaged and love so much what they do. And even though he's been doing this for so long, he was just still so thrilled to talk about James Webb Telescope and Spitzer and everything else. So that was really cool, and that kind of put me on the path to keep doing it. Now it's kind of taken off a little bit.
Wow. So you're the co-host of that podcast.
No, so I'm the full host of that. Although I do another podcast, which is the Mars Society's Red Planet Radio podcast, and Bill and I co-host that. So that was one of those things that I started a little bit with that, but that was more audio stuff. And then I decided to kind of add a little bit of extra. So while we were talking about Mars stuff, I would add a couple extra ones at the end, and then I would do an extended video on my YouTube page. And then from there, I just started kind of branching out and grabbing other people here and there. And so now I do a couple of different ones, which is kind of cool.
Wow, that's awesome. And how do you find these people? Like, what do you do? Like, I see, like, you're just in these cool offices with these, like, big science people. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, basically, I kind of do what you do. Like you search out the people that you find that are interesting and just see if they're willing to do it. I think one of the big ones for me is, and I think she's wonderful. She's one of the best science communicators in the world, and she's just so kind and willing to be out there. One of them was Emily Calandrelli. I'm originally from West Virginia, and so is she, and so she's somebody I really, really look up to. And so I reached out to her on her Facebook page, and I'm thinking, there's no way she's going to answer. She did almost immediately. It's like, I'll do an interview with you. She's just, there's so many people. We're all excited to talk about this, very much like you are. We've all got that big smile on our face, and we can't wait to tell everybody about it. Very similar to what Carl Sagan said. Whenever you're in love, you got to tell the world, right?
Yeah.
So it's really exciting. Most of these people are just, they had a passion like you and I did and just went after it. So they're really inspiring to talk to, for sure.
Wow. Who's been the person that you talked to who's had the biggest, like, you could tell they were the most into it than you've ever seen someone into science before?
Oh, wow. Let's see. That's a really good question, actually. That's going to be tough because there's so many of them that are, really, really super passionate about this. Because you have somebody like, say, Alan Stern. He put so much time, and his team put so much time into what we saw with the New Horizons mission. And it just completely changed the way everybody looked at Pluto again. First it was demoted, and then, we got New Horizons, and as it flies by, we see just this massive heart on Pluto, and we found out all these amazing things. Whoa. And I think that you have so many people that are passionate like that, but if I got to go with one that I think is probably the biggest one, it would probably be Neil deGrasse Tyson. He takes that your own personal astrophysicist thing very, very seriously. It's surprising how he's just like you think he would be. Whenever I met him, I'm just, okay, there's no way he's going to be like that. He's just the nicest guy in the world. He was walking around talking to everybody. He was answering everybody's questions. It was just this really amazing experience, and he's been like that every single time that I've met him. So, it's I'm probably going to be a little biased towards that because he's the one. Cosmos was the thing that put me on my path, 5 years ago. So, I think that there's probably a little bit of that there, but just his sincerity and his want to make the world better educated and get excited about how amazing the natural world is, what the cosmos is like. I think that's probably got to be the big one for me. But man, there's a lot of people right up there with him for sure.
Yeah, that's also what got me, like, back into science because I kind of went from science when I was around 4. I would just like look at space pictures and books, and then I had my own magic show business when I was like 7. I would do magic shows at parties, and then I stopped that, and then I did soccer, and I wanted to be a professional soccer player. And then at age around 10, I'd say I went back into science because I realized it's all in my face. What I want to do is science because I love science since a very young age. And so I was like, why did I switch from that? And so that's how I do what I do now. And I think Cosmos, too, Neil deGrasse Tyson's Cosmos show also kind of got me into it, too. And I remember last year at my other school, my old school, the teacher put on Cosmos one day. And I was just like, I couldn't help but just blurt out everything in the show. It was funny.
I love that.
I bet.
So it's funny you mentioned that. If I may, just real quick, there's a new space minor at CU Boulder, which is the school that I want to go to get my degree in astronomy. And in that one of their classes, I forgot what they actually called it, but the very first thing they do is they watch Cosmos in the class. So you watch it and then kind of point out all the things that you learned from that. I had a tear once I saw that they did that. I was like, oh, I got this. The first week or two is going to be super easy for me.
Yeah, that's cool. They do that? Like, what school is that again?
Yeah, so that's CU Boulder. So that's University of Colorado in Boulder, which is one of the, huge. David Grinspoon was there. I think Chris McCabe was there. They are one of the big schools that is connected to the ISS. They do a lot of work with the astronauts up there. So the astronauts will come back and talk there. But Alan Stern, I believe, was there for a while. So they pump out. If you look at the top 10 schools for astronomy / astrophysics in the country, they're up there, even with all those Ivy League schools. University of Chicago, University of Texas, Austin. There we go. So they do some really incredible work, and there's just so much space in Colorado where I'm at. Between Colorado Springs, Denver, and Boulder, it's everywhere. NCAR's here, NOAA's here, Denver Museum of Nature and Science. We have the Wings Over the Rockies Space Foundation, which is where I volunteer and do a bunch of stuff at and work with them. It's really cool because Lockheed's here, Ball's here. It's exciting, to have all that within 90 minutes to really be at one of the cores of space development in the world. It's it's pretty amazing place to be.
Cool. So they work with astronauts there too. Is that one of the reasons why you're going? Because
so I love astronautics. I'm actually in an astronautics program called Project Possum. It's a citizen scientist astronautics program. And so one that's based there, and that's really amazing because the executive director, Jason Reimiller, he also is a CU Boulder graduate. And so I really love astronautics, but for me, it's astronomy. That's really what I want to do. I want to, similar to what Neil deGrasse Tyson did, where he took over Hayden Planetarium. My goal one day is to run a planetarium, and hopefully, if everything works out, I really want to run the one. So Space Foundation is building out a museum, and the way I understand it is they're going to put one in. So if they do, I want that job.
Awesome. I think you can do it. You could definitely have your own planetarium. That would be awesome too. I would definitely go one day.
I can't say it'd be mine, but I would like to run it.
Yeah, I think that was one of my goals too when I was younger. It kind of changed now. I used to want to own. I wanted to because I'm based here in Houston, and so my favorite museum I always loved to go to, which I may be doing some speaking events there soon too, eventually. One of my favorite science museums is the Science Museum here in Houston because they
it's amazing.
Yeah, especially my favorite is always the dinosaurs because it's just so cool.
It's so beautifully set up. They did such a great job with it. Just, the way that they curated it and just the lighting in that part of the museum is just absolutely. I agree with you 100%. It's one of my favorite museums in the world. Yeah, and something interesting about the dinosaurs too is that when you're looking at the bones, they're not actually the bones because the bones already kind of dissolved and stuff, whatever, from being buried in the ground for so long. It's actually the casing of the bones, which is pretty interesting too. And I've always right up the road from us, we've got a place called the Dinosaur Resource Center, and that's where they put out a lot of the casts and stuff that are around the world.
Wow. So
Scientology was my first love, so I'm with you on that one too.
So the place near you, they distribute the casts to museums and stuff?
So we have so where we're at in Colorado, it's just hotbed of fossils. And hold on one second there. Sorry, I got a text coming in. This is it's just a real hotbed for so many different dinosaur species, especially I think the Stegosaurus was found here. So there's just a ton of them here. So we have, because of the way that the world was back whenever the plates were moving. It used to be that it was, I don't know that I would call it ocean, but basically it was kind of split, and as it came down through the water, so we had this mixture of both land animals and also sea animals. So you have or sea dinosaurs, I should say. So there's this really cool museum that's over by Red Rocks, which is this super popular place for people to go hiking and like music concerts, things of that nature. And right up from that is another like major place where you can drive up and you can see the fossils still in the side of the mountain. Like it does some really, really cool stuff. It's a great tour, and so that's one of the reasons I love it here too, is because I love space and I love dinosaurs. I love paleontology, so I get to have both of them here, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome. They have the fossils like encased on the side of the rocks.
No, I mean, so it's what it is that so there's some places that we have a lot of areas through here where people actually will be doing the work, but they have kind of preserved that so that way they can take people on tours. And you go up, and basically what you're seeing in the mountain is just the actual fossil, or they would have dug it out if they wanted to dig it out. But there's just so much here that basically what they do is it gets people interested. See, like, this is what we would do. This is how we would find these things. And, some places, I mean, especially here, Utah, these areas of where we're at, there was so much life here. And so it makes it really exciting. And one of the things that was really awesome was that you go to that little mini museum that they've got, and in that museum they've got kind of the sea animals, and where you were at right now, this used to be water, and so we find these here. But you go right up the road, and then you're going to find other amazing ones. So it's a pretty incredible place to come check out for sure.
Nice, so cool. So now we're reaching in the half point of recording the podcast. So I just have to end this camera really quick so the file doesn't get corrupted. Awesome. Cool. So yeah, what's it like in Colorado? I bet there's a lot of cool things, there and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, we're really fortunate. You have everything from the mountains to we have some of the best whitewater rafting in the country. Everybody comes here to come see it. It's funny though, because it is cold all the time. So there's still snow on the 14,000 foot mountain that I can see, whenever I go to work every day. And we actually a week and a half ago, about maybe more like 3 hours north of where I'm at, they had a huge snowstorm. They had to close down the road and everything. We've had about a month ago, we still had snow. So it's something you're gonna like the cold if you want to live here. That's for sure. Now it's 90 degrees outside every day, but it's only been the last 2 weeks, which completely skipped spring.
Yeah, here in Houston, it's like we don't get any snow, and when we do, it's like a big deal. Like, it's on every news network based in Texas. It's everywhere. Like, I remember 2017 Christmas, it snowed, and everyone was outside because it never snows. It's either raining really hard for days on, or really hot outside for days on.
Yeah. It's super hot there. I'm actually. I should actually be in Houston at the end of next month. I want to come down. There's some stuff I want to do. I actually want to go see the newest stuff at NASA, because I know they're always changing the things at Johnson Space Center. And I definitely want to go to HMNS again. Love that museum. But I want to go skydiving for the first time with a couple friends of mine. So I'm actually going to come down to Houston to do it. So, yeah, I'll be around, man. You want to go to NASA? Let's do it.
Yeah, awesome. Skydiving, though. Like, they have that here in Texas? In Houston?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the really amazing people that's on the Stardom team. She's one of our photographers. She actually just got back from Falcon Heavy, and she's done a bunch of great stuff for us. She actually skydives there all the time. That's her spot. So I get to go with a couple of my really close friends to go jump out of a plane for the first time, which is funny because I used to be terrified of flying. So science actually cured me of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to be terrified of it. Now I've done a micro G flight, and I've pulled 4 Gs in a plane with the Project Possum. So yeah, man, science actually kind of got me out of that. But this is the big challenge, to jump out of a plane after being terrified of flying, just really 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go skydiving, but the weird thing is, I feel like I would do okay skydiving, but not good on roller coasters. It's the weirdest thing. Like, I can do things that are similar to roller coasters, but not roller coasters, and I do them just like fine. It's really fun. But if I do a roller coaster, I don't know what it is. It's so weird.
Nothing wrong with that. I think we've all got those. We've all got those little things that scares a little bit. But the fun thing is that once you get past that, it's really exciting. Just how it makes you feel. Just that rush that you get from kind of challenging yourself and getting yourself to say, this is something that I'm super scared to do, and then after that, most people get hooked on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm scared of roller coasters, and then after that, they want to go. They do one, and they want to go do all of them. Hey, if you ever get around to it, I think it's. I think you have to be 18 to skydive, if I remember correctly.
Oh.
I think you could do one of the. I think you can do the like the sky zones where they simulate skydiving. I think that you can do that at I think you can do that actually pretty young. You might be able to do it already. I think maybe 13, 14 years old, something like that.
Just see like a 3-year-old in a simulating skydive.
A little irresponsible.
They're just like flying around everywhere. They don't even look like a real human being at that point. I think I've seen those kind of. We'd have to look it up on the maybe screen sharing thing later, but I think I've seen like kids as young as like 5 doing simulated skydiving. I don't know. I don't know if it's real or not. Yeah, really young. Anakin just fell down, by the way. Yeah, that was Anakin. I'll get him right here.
Nice.
Look, Star Wars is the best. Look at Anakin. I've always have him in this, like, just sitting on my desk over there. But the problem is every time this table moves, he just shakes all the time. And then everything, like this mic falls and everything. Yeah. Yeah, I do probably. This table is like a tiny table. This is a economic. What's the word for it? This is a. I can't find the word for it. Dang it! I was gonna have a good joke for you guys. Sorry for the pause. I don't know what I was going for. I'm sorry. I was gonna say something about how like cheap this. Yeah, I was gonna say something. Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say something about how cheap this setup is. Like I just have this little stand, this $8 microphone, and this tiny table that shakes around all the time.
Hey, we all gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, I actually love it. It's easy to joke around about it. Keep the podcast, cool and kind of jokingly fun and stuff like that for our audience members. So yeah, going back to the plane thing, that was interesting. You're afraid of planes, and now you want to jump out of one.
Yeah. So so I had a couple of really big ones. So one of them was heights, and one of them was flying. And since I fell in love with science, I got really educated myself on what makes the plane work, lift, drag, things of that nature. I started figuring out. Actually, one of my friends, one of my really good buddies, Billy, had he was like, listen, if you're scared of flying, now that you're starting to understand science, physics, and these things, I want you to read this book. And he gave me the book about his stepfather, who was really his dad to him, very much his dad to him. And they had written a book about his dad, and he was a pilot. And so he gave me that. Then he also told me to look at flight manuals and start learning these things, the stuff that you're already interested in.
Yeah.
You're going to see this throughout that. And now that you understand it, and over time, it eventually got to that point. And once I joined Project Possum, 2 weeks back to back, we did some training. One of them was to test the Final Frontier design spacesuit. And so that takes micro G flights, because we have to make sure that it works without, with extremely low gravity. So that was one of those. I'm sitting in the plane. Am I going to be terrified of this? I just absolutely loved it. It's the coolest feeling in the world to just float, even if it's only. I think we have about 22 seconds of free fall where we're actually floating, but that's when we're going to do all the testing and make sure that everything's the equipment's running correctly, that the suit's pressurized, and things of that nature. And it's really, really amazing. It's this really small plane. There's only a half dozen of us on it. We're all team members. You're all part of the mission. You all have a job to do. We've got a doctor on the flight. We've got people that are making sure the suit works. Somebody in the suit that's testing to make sure that the suit itself is mobile and that they're able to do the things they need to do. Because the goal is to start doing suborbital flights and understanding not to lose a cloud. So the mesosphere, basically a place that's a little too hard to study from flying below it, and it's a little too hard to study from satellites because they're a little bit too high up. So the suborbital flights that are going on with Virgin Galactic and possibly Worldview and what Bezos is doing, where they're going to have where Blue's going to start taking people up. These kind of opportunities will give us a chance to the citizen scientists to be able to study that part of the atmosphere that we just really don't understand. So basically space clouds, which I think is just
So basically Project Possum is like an astronaut training kind of thing, but for civilians, like just random, just people that are not specifically like dedicated. It's hard to, well, then what makes an astronaut? Like what gives an astronaut the right to be an astronaut if a civilian can do the same thing too? I think I'm kind of getting bamboozled here, but if I'm correct, Project Possum is like astronaut training, but for just ordinary like people that are also in the science field.
Yeah, so it's really kind of a mixture. So there's a couple of different opportunities class-wise. So what I did was Advanced Academy. Advanced Academy will allow people, even like yourself. I think actually the youngest person that we ever had do it was Alyssa Parsons. She was 14 or 15 whenever she did hers. So she's been a part of the program for a really long time. But basically what it is that we can go in and do the initial trainings that we need. And then once we have our degree, then we can go back in and then we have to show that we understand how to do, like we're going to do peer-reviewed work. So can you do actual science? Can you do everything you need to do? Can you document it correctly? So that's what I'll go back in and I'll do once I get mine. But the people that are going to fly first are really going to be the scientist astronaut candidates. The ones that are, we've got one guy who's amazing. He's been a pilot in command for over 30 years. He was in the military when he was earlier. Well, when he was younger.
Whoa.
Sorry. He's wanted to do it all of his life. It's something he's always had a passion for. And then we have doctors. We have John Pena, who has done just so many amazing things. She's a kickboxer and she's a professional singer, and she also is a doctor and she's a scientist. There's a CNN commercial with her.
Wow.
That just came out not too long ago with her, and I think it's Range Rover or Land Rover, something like that. And it's talking about some of the training that she's done to do some things. So the people are amazing. We have people from ESA. We've had people that we do or have worked at NASA. We've got people from all over the world. There's so many different countries from all different backgrounds, and everybody's got their own unique skill. It's really amazing for me to be somebody in the room that I just a few years ago I just got my GED and started going to college. So to be able to get to that point that I could go and work and do these amazing things with these people it's incredible. They're trying to democratize science, to get people out there that say, we all love it. There's no reason that space is for everyone and it should be for everyone. We're not going to say that we're what the astronauts are doing. They're doing amazing things, but we're also not going to the ISS for 6 months. We're talking about suborbital flights, things that are going to be in and out pretty quickly. That kind of then will, but the people that are the scientists, astronauts are going to be the ones that are really going to be flying for now. And then, hopefully once I get my degree in, 5-6 years, then, I can fly. But yeah. So there's even going to be a program for younger people too, called Possum Academy. So I think that's going to be something like 14 and up.
Cool. What's it like to be in, flying in those type of G's all the time?
It's really weird because I'm a big guy too. So you double triple my weight and I'm gonna feel it. But it was really kind of mind blowing. It was a challenge for me too because one of my other things is that I've got a little bit of claustrophobia, and to be strapped into my parachute and then have all these buckles in the seat on this tiny plane where we're gonna go fly up, and we would flew on the side and we pulled 2, 3, 4 Gs and we did all these things. It was really, really incredible. I was so scared on the ground, but as soon as we got in the air, it just all went away. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. It really was. Wow.
Does it feel like you're floating or like being pulled by gravity when you're, in those?
Have you ever been in a car and somebody takes a turn too fast and you can kind of feel yourself kind of being pulled into the car a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Just a little too much. So that's kind of like, that's G's that way. So if it was like that pressure on you on your body, just you're moving a whole lot faster. You're in the air, but you felt a little bit of it before. You felt gravity and gravitational force pulling you before. I'm sure you mentioned doing a roller coaster, even though you may not like them. If you did do one, you felt that at some point of just it trying to pull you to the ground. We've all felt it before. But having it on that level, it was like, okay, we're gonna do this one, and this is gonna you're gonna pull 2 Gs, and then he lets you know. Well, my pilot was a man. So he let me know ahead of time what was going to happen. Like, this is what we're going to do. And then he said, we're going to flip on the side. You can see, how we can fly this way. And there's just so much to how flying works. It was a really amazing and educational experience for sure. But man, I got my heart pumping. That's for sure.
What are those mask things too? When people go and fly in those type of ways, they have to wear these special masks. What do those do?
Okay, so if you're talking about what I think you're talking about, we did something which is hypoxia training. So what they do is they put you in this. I'm trying to think of like the right way to put it. What feels like a steel container, but basically what it is it's going to simulate what it's like at these particular G levels. So that way you know what happens if something is going wrong and you're losing the atmosphere that's in the plane that you're in. So they start simulating it, and you start getting all these different symptoms, so you know what happens. But eventually you do. Like they're eventually going to say, okay, listen, this is where you're at. Like these are once you've written down 3 or 4 of the different symptoms that you feel, then you have an idea of what you would feel like in case something does go wrong. If you've ever been at a really high altitude before, you've probably felt some of those things. If you've ever, say that if you come to Colorado, in Colorado Springs, we have a mountain that's 14,000 feet high. And you can drive or you should be able to take a train to the top of it. And whenever you get out, if you've never been at 14,000 feet before, trust me, you feel it. It's hard. It's really hard to breathe. It's a really intense experience, and you start to feel those things. You start to get foggy. You can't do as much. My friend was almost talking in slow motion that was in the tank with me. So there's a really crazy. It's really, really cool. But it's those things that you need to know and you need to understand. In a safe environment, so that way there's an emergency elsewhere, you know what's going on. And like, okay, I've got to make the proper decision here, and you might need to cancel something. Might need to cancel a flight, cancel a mission if something goes wrong. So those things, we've seen it with all the astronauts, with the big boys, NASA, Roscosmos, etc., and what they've had to do and what they've had to deal with, challenges they face. So we've got to make those decisions sometimes, and it's good to know what that feels like for sure.
Yeah, I bet. That's cool. That's really cool, and it seems really scary at the same time, and then really fun at the same time. Like all of those.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it for you, man. I think you'd love it. I think you definitely got what it takes. So if you get a chance, you got to check out Possum Academy once they have the new class.
Cool. And another thing, let's switch topics a little bit. I want to talk about is have you ever I don't know where I came up with this question, but have you ever seen a rocket launch in person before? Because I think
absolutely, yeah.
Okay, what is it like to watch that?
It was really, really amazing. So the first one that I got to see a little bit of was right after my class had graduated from Project Possum October 2 years ago, and we got done and we all raced to the beach, and we weren't too close, but we got to see a Falcon 9 launch. And it was amazing to be with the people that were in my astronautics program and to be able to go to the beach and see this. And so there's a picture that I have of basically a bunch of my classmates in front of me, and you can see just this little tiny itty bitty thing where it's launching into space. That one was incredible. And then earlier this year, I got to do the real one, like the real launch. And I went with last year I was a finalist in the student astronaut contest for Emily Calandrelli's TV show, Exploration Outer Space. And I got to meet up with a couple of the people that were also finalists with me. One of them is my friend Maddie, and she's at SpaceX, and she's with Brooke Owens. She's Brooke Owens Fellow, and she just does a bunch of amazing things. And so this was actually the first time that I got to meet her, and then I also got to meet the winner, Lee Gadd, who actually I flew into Jacksonville, and he and I took a road trip down and just talked about space and science, and making documentaries. That's what he does, and I'm working on one now. And I got to meet up with my friend. It was amazing because it was Space IL. It was that launch to the first Israeli based company that was sending something to the moon. And so my friend from Israel just happened to be in the country, and he got to come down. And then my friend Sarah, who works with us at Stardom, and so she did. She was doing the photography, and we had just a bunch of our friends there, and it was a truly incredible experience. It's just can't really. You have to go see one. You have to be there for it. I was really sad. I was actually supposed to go see Falcon Heavy. I think we were talking about doing this last week, and I was supposed to be going to Falcon Heavy, and some things happened, and I wasn't able to go. So that kind of broke my heart, definitely. But It's incredible. I really hope you get to see one for sure.
Yeah. It seems really cool. I watched like videos of rocket launches, and it seems like it'll be very loud in person too. Like
it is.
Yeah.
Yep. The sonic boom too, as it kind of rushes over everyone because you see and hear it because it's still it's still so far away because you can only be so close. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a rocket launch. It's a controlled massive explosion.
Yeah. Pretty much.
You can only be so close to it. And as it races across the waterway, and as it breaks the sound barrier and it just hits you, you just see it and you could hear it. It is absolutely stunning. That's one of the reasons I always laugh whenever people say that there's that the Earth's flat or whatever. Go see a rocket launch and tell me that you think that was fake. You know, the whole thing happened.
Yeah,
it's right there.
They're gonna
take your camera with you, just watch it go to space. So anyway, like I get people that want to question things, but once you experience that, it's kind of hard to come back from it.
Yeah, I've had a guy on one time on this podcast, I believe episode 9 or 11, one of those. His name is Anti-Flat Earth. He has a account here where he debunks all these like conspiracy theories and stuff like that. Yes. And yeah, that was a really cool podcast. One specific conspiracy, but that's not really conspiracy. It's like an argument between two sides that he really went in on is like anti-vaxxers. And yeah, and he was like, that guy, he's a cool guy. First of all, he was really interesting to have on the podcast because like he's like a normal person, but like you could just tell he's like the most laid back person you can ever like talk to. Like he's just like he's so cool to talk to. And second of all, he does like if I were to come up with one statement that describes how he is research is life. Like literally that's all he does. And so in that podcast, he was literally just breaking down just a whole bunch of resources and research and sources and stuff like that. And just like boom, it was like a whole bunch just on this specific anti-vaxxer like big guy that's known that is big in the anti-vaxxer community, and he just like literally outright exposed him. Like it was crazy. But yeah.
Nice. We need those people. I mean, it's good to be a skeptic, but if you're going to be a skeptic, you need to be able to back it up. If there's going to be something that, well, I think it's this and that, well, then you're going to have to prove it. You're going to have to be able to, you got to put up or shut up. Mm-hmm. So that's it's cool to see people out there that are trying to fight the good fight, and there's a lot of people that flat earthers, anti-vaxxers, things of that nature, climate deniers that we have. We have these great people that are out there that are trying to teach and change the world and show people in the best way possible. That's why we need science communicators. That's why we need people like you to be out there that are telling people the truth and what it is and how they can find it, and challenge them. Say, hey, listen, you don't have to believe me.
Yeah.
Go check out these sources. Here's how you really do proper research. Go to scholar.google.com. See if you have a friend that's in college, and they will allow you to see the studies that they have access to. We've all got a friend in college. Every single person does.
Yeah.
And if you can look at these things and see what it is that they're doing and what's out there, it's really kind of a freeing thing to know that these are things that we can study and we can learn and we can understand. And I think that's what's so exciting about living in the time that we do. It's just 400 years ago, man. Everybody thought we were the center of the universe.
Yeah.
Here we are.
And about the science communicating and the conspiracy theorists and flat earthers and stuff like that. That reminds me of Bill Nye, because there's a big documentary that came out about Bill Nye and how they like spilled the tea on like what it was like for him to have to debate these climate deniers and flat earthers all the time, constantly. And
it's for him. I mean, he was so beloved for so long, and he decided to stand up and take the position that he has and say, we've got to move forward on this, people. We've got some things that are challenging us right now that we need to face. We can no longer we can't do what we were doing before. We've got to pay attention to the fact that this is what's happening. The studies say it. Everybody says it. This, evolutionary biology is something that we have massive amounts of evidence for. Same thing with the changing climate, but this is something we can solve. This is something we can do. A lot of people don't like him for it anymore, and it's. I know that it's got to be tough to go from that where he was at to where he's at now, man. But he keeps fighting the good fight. And he will not give up, and I think that's I think that's brave. That's really, really brave. I almost cussed on you there. Sorry, but I think it's incredibly brave what he's doing to be able to stand up and take and just keep going after those fights. When obviously, it's got it. I can't imagine it hasn't taken a toll on him. And if it isn't, that shows even more the kind of character that he has. So I'm glad that he's out there, man. We need more of them, right?
Yeah, the big one especially was Ken Ham. That was a really big one with the arc.
I watched that one. The look on his face of that whole thing was just, what is wrong with you?
Yeah,
yeah. So I gotta, while I don't wish failure on anyone. I am kind of happy that the whole art museum thing is going. Just the idea of showing, because especially whenever he waits, said, okay, I'm going to go to this museum, and they've got raptors.
Raptors.
Really? A raptor on the arm?
They have dinosaurs.
There's so much to that. I won't get started.
Yeah, I think also the ending question when he did the debate with Ken Ham, the ending question is what summarized it all, and it was the ending question. If you guys don't know, it was the debate between Bill Nye and Ken Ham. Ken Ham, he made this art museum. He's like this big religious guy, and I'm not against religious at all. Against religion at all. I said against religious. I'm not against religion at all.
Religiosity, or whatever it is, religiosity. Something like that.
Yeah. But the only issue is sometimes when religion gets in the way of, science and actual human progress and stuff like that.
Agreed.
And in this debate, I think the roadblock that we're seeing right now is people are not believing in, climate, change and stuff like that happening. And we've talked about climate change so much on this podcast, especially astronomy memes. She really knows about that. But anyway, the ending question, I almost went off topic there. But the ending question that an audience member had for them was, he asked both Bill and both Ken Ham. Mike fell again. Both Bill and both. Yeah, it's trying to run away from me. Both Bill and both Ken Ham, what would change their mind? Bill said if we had any evidence that supports that our data is not true, and Ken Ham, basically to summarize what he said, is that he won't change his mind. So
yes, exactly.
So that summarized the whole thing. Like, what seems more what makes more sense there? I personally think Bill's makes more sense. You can't just say that no matter 100%. Yeah, you can't just say no matter what I see, I'm still not going to believe it. And actually that reminds me also of a flat earth documentary that came out on Netflix that I watched. That was really awesome. You guys should watch it.
Flat earth documentary. Yeah. Just they sound like an oxymoron from a documentary.
But I think it's called Beyond the Curve, and it follows the main guy that started Flat Earth. And the funny thing, why I'm referencing this documentary, why I love it so much, is that they do experiments to try to prove Flat Earth right, and they end up proving themselves wrong in their own experiments. And then what they do after that is they try to say, well, that data is not correct. We're going to find another way to prove it, which is just, you can't do it like that. That's like...
Yeah. That's not how it works. Like that just shows a fundamental misunderstanding of how science is. That's not, if you put something to the test and it passes and it passes and it passes and it passes, that's science. And then if other people try and sit and disprove that and they can't disprove it, that's science. That's the whole point of how we get here. That's how we make progress. That's how we understand the natural world. And to be able to say, okay, I'm not gonna believe what it is that I see here is just one of the silliest things ever.
Yeah.
So I get it, and I hope hopefully they have a moment where they get a connection with science and understanding and go from there, man.
Yeah. That's literally like saying, I don't want to believe that hearing stuff happens. Even though you constantly hear, it's just like you're just denying what's right in front of your face that you're seeing in the data and results and stuff like that. So yeah.
Already, buddy. No pun intended.
Yeah. So I think we're reaching the end of this podcast, but there's one thing I want to ask you. That's a really big question I want to ask you is, you have a doc coming out soon, right? That you're in the process of making. What are some little hints, if you can give any, about what the documentary will, be about and entail?
Sure. So basically, you know who Anthony Bourdain is, right?
Yeah.
You ever see any of his stuff? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the general idea, to put it in a sentence, is it's parts unknown meets Star Talk. What I want to do is what we're in the process of doing is I want to tell as many stories from people as many backgrounds as possible in science. But instead of where he traveled the world and he connected culture to food with them, I want to do it with space and science. I want to go see and talk with and see the life of somebody that's doing these amazing things. Like, if you haven't heard of Astronomy Outreach Kosovo, Prevera is doing this amazing work where she started with just some telescopes doing stuff locally, and now she's traveling all over the world, talking about what it is that she's doing and how it's changing Kosovo. I've got friends, my friend that I mentioned that was at the launch with me, my friend Kavi, he's in Israel, and he's doing amazing work there. He created Fun Fact Science, and he's doing these really cool things with doing science communication in a place where not a lot of people realize. I mean, I know I didn't realize just how much they are involved in space and science. And there's right outside of Jerusalem is an area that's kind of like another Silicon Valley, very similar to what we have in California. And they're doing amazing work there. And I want to show what people don't. What we're scared sometimes to see. One of my really good friends is her name's Yumna, and she lives in Pakistan. And everybody has this idea of what Pakistan is. That she's this young woman doing science outreach, and she inspires me all the time. And she was somebody that reached out to me whenever she was first doing her stuff. And now, I get to see her story and see the things she's doing, and she blows me away. I want to share the stories, the things that make me get up in the morning and make me keep doing these things. There's just so many incredible people, and whenever I'm around them, I know the energy that they give me and what they inspire me to do, and I think we can do that for as many people as possible. Give me 15 seasons, and trust me, I'll have 15 seasons worth. So that's the goal right now. We're kind of doing the self-funding thing and working with a couple different organizations, but we're trying to get a couple episodes in, and we're going to do a Kickstarter for it. We're working on doing a sizzle reel right now, the stuff that we've filmed so far. So we filmed at Space Symposium. We filmed at Humans to Mars Summit. We're going to do some stuff here around Colorado with some really cool people, like the director of Project Possum and my friend that runs Science in the Blood, who I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro with in a couple months. And the goal is eventually to really travel the world and tell as many stories as we can. So that's the goal. Hopefully we get it worked out. If not, maybe we can crowdfund it and just make it a really cool YouTube series. But either way, man, we're throwing some stuff at the wall and see what happens.
Nice. That's like a perfect idea. Just taking all these stories and having your own parts unknown kind of docu-series, but with science and science communication and stuff like that. So that's really awesome. I would definitely watch it when it comes out. But whether it's on TV or YouTube or movie theaters, I'll see it. It sounds really cool.
Well, we want to start with the documentary, and the idea for the documentary is basically to be somewhat of a lengthier, what an episode would look like. We're just getting started. Here's just a few things. We had to do something. We wanted to start somewhere, and if we can do that, and then there's somebody that believes in it and takes it on, and sees what we've been able to kind of put together. I mean, it's been really exciting for me just to sit and watch this footage. And a couple weeks ago, whenever I was going over the stuff for the first time, I just sitting there. Wow, we're doing this. We're making this thing. It looks so good. The people that I get to work with, Isaac Frave has really been the main collaborator. He's the videographer. He helps me put these things together. He just does incredible work. Check him out. He's on Instagram, iff.tv. And he is, it's just been so exciting. And we met whenever I was in the documentary he was filming at Space Foundation. And then that has just blossomed into just a great working partnership. And he loves science too. And he's excited about it. And it's something that's interesting is that, so I don't really have a faith in a creator or anything, but Isaac definitely has faith in stuff, but he still is excited about science. It's for everyone. Space and science and these things are for everybody. There's no reason that you can't have all. If you want to have all of it, it's not personally for me, but it doesn't mean that you can't have that if you want to. There's no reason that you can't. So it's just go out there, love it, all of it, and try and absorb as much as you can, and hear as many different points of view as you possibly can. And I think that's what's going to be really exciting about sharing some of these stories, because man, these people come from all walks of life.
Yeah, That's really awesome. What is the last thing you want to say to everyone before we end this podcast?
Find the thing that you love. You know, if you find it and you find something that you fall in love with, even if you're scared of it, even if you think you can't do it, you'll find that you'll just keep going after it. So for me, it's space, it's science. That's what I want to do. I just want to keep doing science communication and keep meeting all these amazing people. Talking to awesome people like you.
Thank you.
Just to be able to get out there and live this life that I really really enjoy. I think everybody's got it in them. You're showing that nobody's too young, and I'm showing that nobody's too old to just go out there and grab it. So do it, man. Do exactly what you love. I think that's what the world needs more of.
Cool. So that's the podcast, guys. Find something you love and stick to it. Mike tried to run away again, but I'll see you soon. Awesome. Cool. Good. And this